So, hello, bonjour, hola, welcome to Awards Academy. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Rachel, and I'm going to be the host of this live session. We're very excited to have Michelle from Dropbox. So I'm Rachel, I'm the community manager at Awards, and yeah, just thanks for logging in and joining us today, taking the time out of your busy day. So, Awards Academy, what is it? It is an interactive learning platform for designers and developers, bringing you loads of fresh content and learning opportunities, talks, live workshops, Q&As, micro courses. So go and check it out because you'll definitely find something interesting for you. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. That is the place where you can watch again all these live sessions and also conference talks. We've got over 100 there, so check it out. So who we've got Anton, Boris, Rebecca. Hello everyone. So let's get to today's live. So we are very happy today to be joined by Michelle Morrison. She's Design Ops at Dropbox Design. She's going to be joining us from San Francisco. There she is.
Morning.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. I've been looking forward to this all week, so very excited.
Awesome. Yeah, this is just a great community, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So I really appreciate everybody dialing in, and for you, Rachel, for all that you do for us.
Oh, it's nice to have you back, because I remember I last saw you in Tokyo when you were doing the talk about how to build a design culture.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was the last trip I took this year, so I'm glad we had that time together.
Yeah, that was amazing. And it's really nice to kind of like fast forward and speak to you again and kind of see, what's changed and how you're dealing with things that have changed.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, everything has changed, so I'll share what I'm doing, but I'd really love to hear from the community as well, what's going on in your world and how you're staying connected while we're all stuck at home.
Okay, so I've put a handout in the handout section, and we'd love for you to join the Q&A. So please jump in and put your questions there, and we'll answer them at the end of the session. All right, so I'm going to let you get on a bit. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Rachel. Cool. Here we are. Okay, so thank you all for joining me this morning. My name is Michelle Morrison. I'm a design program manager and I lead design ops at Dropbox. Some things to know about me. I lived in the Bay Area for 14 years. I had a short stint in New York. I'm an INTJ. I'm a type 3 wing 2. I'm an Aquarius. I definitely have middle child tendencies. And I'm a big dog mom. So just so you know who you're talking to, this is me. I'm a very Californian. But I like to think of myself as a global citizen. I am lucky to have friends around the world and family in multiple countries. It helps me think about big picture ideas through community and culture and connection. So just a little glance at my career. I've been managing operation teams for 13 years. I've specialized in design ops for the last 6, but I've been a people manager for a long time. And it's the people management side of things that's really helped me go deep and understand culture and community and why it matters so much. I also love side projects. So I ran a community called Designers and Geeks for 5 years. I work with the SF MoMA. I'm a board member at Creativity Explored, which is an artist community for adults with developmental disabilities. And my friend Gabe and I co-produce a conference called Vectors. So even though I'm a busy bee at work, I really love the external community because it opens my eyes and exposes I grow my thinking through exposure of new ideas. Design ops is a growing field and people are starting to see it as a more strategic function than ever. I always like to share what I do and what I think about what kind of creative I am so that you have the context for the things that I care about and the way that I work. The thing I'll say forever is that happy teams ship great work fast, and happy teams are teams that are connected, they have a sense of purpose, they know what they're doing, they have good communication skills, and all of those factors are things that design ops really can help foster in a team. I'm not going to talk about the internal team today. I'm going to talk about the external community. In my past awards talks, I've talked about culture. And just to sort of define culture for what it is, I believe that culture is how you act on your beliefs, and community are the people who share those beliefs and gather around them. So that's what I'm talking about when I say community. I'm going to share actually my strategy doc on just how do we start a community. If community is the problem that you're looking to solve and it's the job that you're employed to do, what do you even do and how do you get started? And I'm going to share all of this, but at the very end, I want to talk about what we're doing now, now that we're facing COVID. So like any business or any product team, you have to start with the high level strategy. Like, what are we going to do? Why are we doing this? I have a small team at Dropbox, and we're on a mission to enrich the design community and attract talent to our team and products. And that's just what we do. That's the goal of the whole thing. Before we could even figure out like, who is our community or what do we do for them, we started with a set of principles. And this was driven by our design leadership team. Myself and a strategist named Etienne went out and really got into their heads around like, what do we stand for? Who are we? How do we show up in the world? And we were able to distill a really big set of inputs down into 5 simple principles. With community programs, we wanted to spark joy. We wanted to celebrate craft. We wanted to foster diversity. We wanted to be generous. And we wanted to experiment, because if we got these 5 factors right, we felt like we could really achieve a lot and create value in the community. From that, we wrote a manifesto. This was written by an amazing writer named LaDonna. She helped us distill those 5 high-level values into something we could really use as a we statement. Who are we? What are we doing? And this is something that we use both internally and externally at Dropbox. And then we got into defining the approach. Well, then what do you do? Like, okay, great. So you have this like messaging strategy. What do you do with it? Well, at the end of the day, we wanted to turn outsiders into insiders and a network of people into our friends. And if we could get all of these sort of beliefs just right, we would have a really healthy community. So once you have all of that, like, how do you know what to make? So you have a good belief system, but then like, what do you do with it? How do you make it real for people? Well, that's when you get into understanding like who's out there, who follows you, who cares about what you're doing. Community isn't just designers for us. It's people who are looking for jobs, people who are industry partners and peers, people who aren't even in design yet, but like maybe want to and could benefit from the things that you do. I'm really big on surveys. I love data to support some of the beliefs-driven work. And so we survey people regularly. Who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? And understanding the sort of audience metrics, they help you make the right stuff. Like if our discipline mix is brand and product design dominant, but we still have a lot of design ops folks, we can still create for that community specifically and include them in the bigger stuff. And so these are real people who have real experiences who are represented in these numbers, and that's important to keep in mind. We also ask like, how do we what do you think of us? What's our reputation? We're okay. We're not the top, but we're pretty good. We're doing good. So how do we stack up, and how do we build relationships with these other companies to make sure that we're, in the market with them, building a community together? We also ask, what do we do well? What do you care about? And we take all that data and then we turn it into action. So really focusing in on enriching our community, I'm going to share sort of a snapshot of like, what do we do to enrich the community? My team and I developed 4 unique strategies. We felt like we couldn't just do external facing work. We also had to enrich our community within Dropbox. So we have a big design team. We have over 150 people in design who are a community of themselves. And then we have all our friends in the world who we make resources and share knowledge with and invite to gatherings. We felt that if we could build the brand and reputation of Dropbox Design, then we could enrich the community, make useful resources, and create partnerships and relationships that really matter. Then we start to look at engagement. That hopefully would lead to building our team, making sure that like the people who want to apply for our jobs are considered, and we prioritize people in the community for open roles. And then we're also developing our people. We're lifting them up. We're giving these opportunities. We're helping them build their profile. So we look at reputation, engagement, talent pipeline and individual growth as the things to like look at, like, are we doing it right? Are we doing enough? Those are the factors that you look at for performance. And then okay, so all of this is like strategy. And then you get into okay, here's the stuff we actually do. We drive diversity programs, we host events, we develop editorial, we build partnerships and sponsorships, we do a ton of public speaking, a little bit of recruiting. We bring all of this back in the Hack Week so that internally people are connected to it. And then we're like pretty serious about the strategy of things with insights and communications. We work with amazing partners around the world. We develop new programs in partnership with groups like Designer Fund. We put our work in the museum at SF MoMA and made sure that creative that was being developed in our world was alongside all the amazing artists of history. We participated in book fairs and created an amazing print collection. We helped some people at Dropbox publish their first magazines. Kate Postelou is an amazing designer who wanted to express herself, and we helped her make a zine called Ladies Get Loud. We recently published a magazine called Feminist Propaganda, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I would love to personally send you each a copy of this. And LaDonna, who I mentioned earlier, she put all of her heart and soul into a personal voice workbook to help you figure out where you're silenced in the world and how to unblock yourself. Those are all artifacts and things that we're doing, but they're intentionally designed to bring people together. And the question I always get asked, and this is something that people worry about, because community feels so good and it's so emotionally intelligent in its nature, how do you measure the return on investment? Well, you have to look at your audience. Is it growing? Is it healthy? Is it an engaged audience? You have to look at your strategy. Are you fulfilling your strategy? Did you do the things you said you were going to do? How's your reputation looking? Can you measure the engagement? What about, your talent? Can you attract the right people to your team? And are your people growing? And those are all different things to measure, and there's different tools for measuring them, but you have to fulfill your strategy to know you're on the right track. That's all good, but what I really want to talk about today, and we're going to get into the Q&A, is when you build up these big strategies and you have a grand vision of like reaching every designer in the world, what do you do when you can't gather, when you're stuck at home? So I'm going to invite Rachel back because I really want to talk about that, and I want to answer your questions about how do you build community in the time of COVID. So we're going to get into it.
Okay, nice one. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so we've got two questions here from Rebecca first that we'll start with because she's got stuff she wants to know. So, hi, Rebecca from Buenos Aires. She'd like to know, how often do you survey, and is it always the same survey? Does it shift depending on the data you're looking to get?
We try to keep a pretty consistent survey for our baseline inputs, things like, what field are you in, or how many years experience, some of the core audience measures, which are pretty standard for any internet project. We do ask new questions where we are looking for a signal on a new strategy. So Feminist Propaganda is a magazine, but it's also a web series. And when we ran that particular survey, we were really looking at people who had a story to tell. And we used the sort of general measurement of what the community is and what the health of the community is. And we added one question that helped us sort of get into, well, should we make this magazine? So there's moments like that help. But the one thing I'll say is if you want to have like really good data quality, you kind of want to keep a baseline of things that you measure. So you can look back 2 years ago and say, well, 2 years ago we were here and now we're here. You can add to it, but I wouldn't take away any questions so that you have consistency in your data.
Okay, thank you. And another question. So what tools do you use for collecting and analyzing data and research?
It's a good question. So if I'm doing a really big survey, we'll use a tool called Qualtrics. Qualtrics is nice with a Q. Qualtrics.
Okay.
So that tool is used by design researchers worldwide, and it's where you cast a really big net. If I'm asking questions that I don't need thousands of people to answer, maybe a couple hundred or even a couple dozen, I'll use Google Forms. And both tools are great. The mechanisms in which you reach people are slightly different. If I use Google Forms, I'll use, my Twitter account, my Instagram to get the existing relationships I have to fill it out. If I want net new people to fill it out, Qualtrics is really great at getting the survey in front of people who we may not know yet.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. It's always good to hear about new tools. So another question on Bile. How many people are working remotely right now? Oh, maybe, I don't know if that one is like in the world.
Well,
or
our whole team, our whole company is working from home right now. So I think the whole world is actually, but in terms of the community, all the people that we connect with, as far as we know, are still at home.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get back to gathering soon. It's my favorite thing in the world. So
yeah. Do you think that it will go back to everyone being in at the same time, or do you think this is kind of like kickstarted a progression that will sort of continue?
So this is interesting because it kind of gets into a thing I've been thinking a lot about, which is I talked about the 5 values of joy, craft, diversity, generosity, and experimentation. With COVID, we actually have to prioritize a different value, which is safety. Like with the community and the world at risk right now, the number one priority for us is our community well? Are they safe? Are they healthy? And so when we sort of think about like, how do we go back to work? My desire is to get everybody in the big room and like hug everybody and like make up for lost time. But what's so important is that we do it safely and that people can be healthy, their families can be healthy, their local communities can be healthy with how we go back to work. So I don't have the answer, but whatever it is, I want the safest path possible for people.
Yeah, definitely. Sebastian's asking, do you use analytics or your own tool for measuring?
We have various data tools that we use. I mentioned Qualtrics and Google Forms for data collection tools. I tend to do analysis in Excel just because I'm a spreadsheet fanatic. We do also use tools like Tableau and Splunk and Hive and all of those sort of standard big data tools. It depends on what we're looking at. But I think you can do analysis in Keynote if you really want to, if you have the numbers. So any tool is a good tool as long as your data is hygienic and accurate.
Okay. So let's have a look. Have we got any more questions? Anyone else want to ask Michelle anything? So Rebecca says, thanks for the reply. Very informative. We are planning the second round of our queer design count survey of LGBTQ plus designers and need to up our game. So that's where she's coming from.
Send me your survey and I'll share it with our team. The Pride community at Dropbox is really strong. And one nice thing that we do internally that I just learned so much from is every month we celebrate a different heritage or a different identity group. So this month is Latin Heritage Month. In June, it's Pride Month. And what the company does is they make sure that we're educated, that we learn about the history of these communities and how they're progressing and what they value and how we can protect and support them in, sub-communities within our broader community. And doing that makes such a big difference because the inspiration never stops, but you can also really learn how you can be a better ally and support people just by understanding where they're coming from and what the history of their identity is.
Yeah, I agree. That's really good. Just educating yourself on the history of various groups is very simple and very important to really understand.
Yes. Yeah, there's so much to learn and history tells us so much, but also we're in this massive transformation of culture and society right now. And the past really can help us move forward, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Murillo, could you speak a little bit more about measuring the ROI on those community-focused strategies?
Yeah, sure. So I'll talk a little bit about Feminist Propaganda, the magazine. Just get my copy and show you that it's a really beautiful piece of print. So this project was one of the first projects that we kicked off because of COVID. In normal times, we would host small gatherings, coffee chats, speaker series, things that really gathered people together. And my team and I looked at like, well, what can we do if we really can't gather right now? It was right before we made a big leap to online events, which I'm so grateful we've done seamlessly, but that's a whole other topic. For this magazine, we thought, well, we have a little bit of budget. We still want to gather people around the idea of equality. It's something we fight for every day. So what can we do? We decided to design the magazine. Kavya Savaraman is an incredible designer who came up with the initial concept. And to print a magazine, it's not that much in terms of corporate dollars. Like if you were going to host a big event, you could just make a magazine. It's not that expensive. But what was so important to us was that by using mail and physically sending these to people around the world, the return on the investment was that our net cost of investing in the community would be about the same, but the actual reach would grow. And so we're looking at growth metrics when we look at things like this. How many countries can we send this to? How many people can we reach? How much traffic does it bring to our website? How does the sentiment change? Do people feel like equality is one of our top values? And so you look at the hard numbers of like cost and distribution and reach, and then you look at the soft numbers of like, and what did this do for our reputation? And then you can paint a full picture of like, well, was this worth it? Is it a good investment to make? And it totally is. Totally is. The one thing that I would change, and the thing I learned from this project, is my whole house is a shipping and receiving center now. Like I've personally myself packed and shipped 1,000 packages and shipped them to 20 countries around the world. And I'm proud of that, but I've gotten a lot of paper cuts in the process. So I would maybe re-engineer how we did fulfillment, but it was 100% worth it and something that was the right thing to do when we couldn't get together.
Oh, wow. So you actually have been sending them out and packaging them. That's really nice to know. Sent with love.
I will personally pack and sticker that package and make sure that it gets to you if you request one.
Maybe with some dog hair in it.
I don't know if everybody could see, but my supervisor is here. Aaron. There he is.
Oh, okay. We've got another question here asking if you bring in external people to have discussions, or are you learning from fellow colleagues at Dropbox?
That is a good question. So I really look to the external community for a lot of input. There's this amazing group of community builders who I check in with. At the very beginning of COVID, we got together and everybody put their cards on the table. Like, what are you doing? How are you going to keep your community going? And some people knew the answer right away, that they were going to do online events and it was going to be as easy as that. And other people, like myself, I was a little slow to online events, was looking at like, well, how can we mail things to people? How can we create these magical experiences for them in their homes? And so there's different ends of the spectrum, and we all share our resources. So people like Andrea, who runs 99U, and the folks at Ace Hotel and the folks at Invisible Talks and all these amazing communities in the world, they all are sort of my mind tribe of people who share and guide me through my work. Internally at Dropbox, we have an incredible group of creative directors, designers, design leaders who weigh in on this work as well. In terms of execution, it's myself and one other project manager who run like the community program at Dropbox, who are like, you know, the air traffic controllers, but everybody contributes to it. Like, we have a number of Dropboxers who are featured in the magazine. I have an incredible copywriter. We have an art director who helps with the programming. So there's a lot of creative contributors, but in terms of the people who like are responsible for the program, it's myself and one other person.
Okay, wow. So very personal touch there.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a question from Alexia. Well, I mean, you've kind of covered this, but is the current situation changing the communication strategy of the company?
100%. And that's a great question because it really gets back into the culture making of things. I mentioned earlier, but culture is how you act on your beliefs, and your community are the people who believe in it with you. So communications is critical for keeping people aligned, making sure that they have a place in the community, that they understand what's going on, and that you're able to move everybody forward. The thing that's changed with COVID is people have to communicate more than ever. They have to write it down, or they have to say it over a Zoom call. The strategy has been to be transparent, open, honest, more honest with people. Some of the things I've seen shift in our culture is that we're talking about mental health a lot more, and people really are sharing how they feel because it's critical to their well-being. We can't achieve big goals if our team is sick and not doing well or out of energy. So some of the things the company has done to help with that are all of our executives are talking about mental health. They gave us some benefits to meet with coaches and therapists. They're also writing about it. How are they addressing their own well-being and their family's well-being so that they could model the behavior for the rest of the team? That has been the biggest change in communication in terms of things we're talking about. In terms of the way we communicate, we're now, we're not in the same room anymore, and there's no hallways to bump into somebody and ask them about that random thing. So we're having to just share more so that people have access to our thoughts and what we're doing so we can work harmoniously while we're all at home. But yeah, communication probably is the biggest change that I've seen since we've been working from home.
Yeah, it's interesting because everyone could be having such a different experience depending on your situation. Like, are you alone? Are you with family? Are you enjoying it? Are you not? Is it good? Is it bad? So it's kind of no one fits all.
Are you homeschooling? You think about parents who are like on their Zoom calls, and then their kids are also on their Zoom calls, and like, how's your internet bandwidth? Is everybody okay? Those are realities that we have to account for now.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we got a question from Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian. Do you have any software to put all the data together to see the whole data in a simple way? Analytics, Facebook, Twitter, etc.
That is a great question. I have many dashboards, but this is personal to me, but I have a Google sheet with like all the math. What I like to do for people who are consuming that data is put it together in two forms. One, Tableau is a really amazing tool for visualizing data. So there's a lot of dashboards that people can check out. When I'm sort of doing my reviews, when I socialize the work and make sure that people who invest in it know the numbers and can see the progress, I really am just stuck in Keynote, and I love to make pretty charts and make sure people feel really good about the quality of the data that they're consuming. The thing that I will say is dashboards and stuff are a big investment, and they really only matter to decision makers. If someone needs to look at the data and take an action, having dynamic data is really important. But if someone just needs to believe in what you're doing and generally give you a quarterly thumbs up to keep doing it, it could be a presentation, it could be a PDF, it could be static, because they're not going to need to manipulate the data to change their mind. So I would say don't over-engineer your data, only make it dynamic for the people who need to make decisions based on whatever it is.
Okay, awesome, thank you. What we can do is when we're going to publish this again on YouTube, so we can put links to the tools that you recommended, because I think there's loads of great tools there that people would be interested in knowing about. And so just going to see if there's any more questions on the chat. Everyone says thank you for the answer. Alexia says thanks. Murillo says thanks. So that's been useful. Any more questions for Michelle? If you want to, we're doing a giveaway of the Feminist Propaganda book and the Find Your Voice book. So I've put a Google form in the chat.
They're so pretty. I'm just going to give you a little flip through so you can see how great this design is. It's great photos, beautiful typography, and the workbook is a really profound exercise that you can give yourself. And then the magazine comes with some really cool little tear outs. So we have, let me just find one so I can show you. This is a Madeleine Albright quote, but you can actually rip it out and put it in, put it on the wall or give it to a friend or whatever, but they both have some interactive elements. So please request them and I will ship you them myself.
Oh, that's awesome. I've put the forms, the Google forms in the chat, but you can also DM us on awards and we can send you the form as well if you like.
Great.
Yes. Oh, hang on. Is there another question? Oh, okay. Someone's asking, the Feminist Propaganda form only accepts zip codes. Is there a form that allows postcodes with letters in them? Like
go ahead and just drop your postcode in the comment. There's like one last box where you can add anything that we need to know. Put it in there and I'll make sure that it gets accounted for. But thanks for calling it out.
Okay, cool. That's good. So someone's keen to get their copy there. Yeah, and I think that we were talking before about how exciting it is to get things through the post now.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting that like prints kind of like come back in in the last few months.
I'll do anything to save print. So we need to save print and we need to save the postal service right now.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, like in my house from like all the conferences, like, you know, we have goodie bags where people give away leaflets and books and stuff like that. And yeah, beautiful notebooks or beautiful books. Yeah, they just look nice, and you just keep them in your house. They're just really nice, kind of like more personalized things to have. So any more questions? Michelle's here to answer your questions about building communities. We've already had quite a few questions today, so thank you, everyone. Anyone else? Yeah, so we'll chat for a little bit longer, and we'll give people the opportunity to jump on before we go. Oh, okay, Murillo, he's come up with a question. Thank you. Talking about small companies, is there a turning point where we should start talking about creating communities?
So I think a small company is as important in the broader creative community as a big company is. What you want to think about is what you need or what you want from the community. The community, the broader group of people who, you know, connect with you and are interested in what you're doing, they can help you in ways that you can't do on your own. So thinking about building a community around the topics that you're designing for, having conversations with people who are working on similar problems, bringing in partners or, you know, other groups who maybe like really actually help you think through big, hard problems faster and support you in that process and share their tips. The knowledge exchange is so valuable. The other thing is you never know who you're going to work with. And so building a community, even if your team is small, helps you like know who's out there, what they're working on. It might inspire you, or it might even like build a relationship that you might recruit that person later on to work with you on a project. So it does take work and intentionality, but you can start building communities at any size around the topics and problems that you're interested in. So do it now. Don't wait. It's so rewarding. It's so much work. Rachel can tell you how much work it is, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah, we've been building communities, but yeah, it is definitely worth it. And the feedback that you get from people when they feel loved and listened to is makes your job more fun and rewarding. So
yeah,
worth it for everyone.
Yes.
Let me have a look anymore. Oh, here we go. We've got a question from Excellence. As a freelancer finishing university, do you have any tips for cultivating a community amongst other freelancers to form a kind of collective?
I think it's a great idea, and I've seen some really cool communities gather. There is this group that I worked with earlier this year called Freelancing Females, and they're a massive New York-based community for all levels of career, but it's just a really cool group of people. I've also seen folks like do exactly what you're saying, create small collectives that maybe become a studio, and business kind of leads them into a different shape and form later on. I say do it, because the thing is, like, we're all working on the internet. We all have knowledge to share with each other. Our experiences shape how we work. And if you can have people around you who you can ask those questions to or look to when you're in a tough spot, life's just going to be easier and better and richer and sweeter. So collectives are really powerful, especially when you're going at it alone. There's also the concept of collective bargaining. So you can get better deals or better rates with a bigger group of people. Yeah, do it. Just do it. Or find a community that exists and join, so that you can learn what you like and what you don't like, and so you can shape your own version of it for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I'd sort of agree with that, and think, like, if you can't find what you're looking for, then just create it and make it. And you'll definitely get people who want to join you for the ride, who like share your values and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best part of the creative industry in general, is like we can always make whatever we don't have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've got another question from Sebastian. How do Dropbox approx to new potential users who is in charge of selecting it? And how do they make the definition of that profile? What phases does it involve?
That's a good question. I'm not very close to user onboarding. I know all the people who work on it, but my world is slightly different and slightly removed from the product space. So if you tweet Dropbox Design the question, I will make sure the person on the team answers it.
That's good. At Dropbox Design. There you go. Oh, I spelled it wrong. At Dropbox Design. Okay, cool. Anyone else before we go? We've had loads of questions. It's been really amazing to have everyone getting involved. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so we've got 2 forms that people can fill in their details to get the books, and also they can download the handouts. So yeah, unless anyone's got any other questions, give everyone a chance.
While you're thinking of your last questions, I just want to say thank you so much. All of you have been really great. Your questions are spot on. I'm happy to keep chatting with you online later on, so don't hesitate to reach out. But you all are very cool. I feel it's nice because we're all in different geographies. It's like 9 a.m. in Oakland, but I know that it's evening time for others, and I'm just so grateful to be connected to all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so amazing to hear from you, in San Francisco on Dropbox. That is one of the great things about the Awards Academy. We've been speaking to people in Ireland, from Google. We're going to speak to people from IBM, and we're seeing inside people's houses and everything.
You can meet everybody's dogs. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. So unless there's anything else you want to touch on today, Michelle?
No, the only thing that I'll wish you all is I hope you're all in good health. Be safe. Don't rush to an event. If people aren't well, wear your masks and wash your hands. That's all I have to say right now.
Good life advice there. Wash your hands. Okay. That's all for today. Join us for our next live session, which is going to be a live jury website review. We're going to be joined by Jonas Lemper in Berlin and Bruno Azirio in Sao Paulo, and they're going to be critiquing the latest websites on awards. So that is on September the 17th. So please do join us for that, and there'll be a Q&A as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for your questions, for getting involved. It's been a real pleasure. You'll be able to watch this live session on YouTube, where we will be posting it with some links and some more resources and things. So subscribe. So thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Be well, everybody.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.